Am I the jerk for leaving my entire family stranded at a luxury cabin 6 hours from home and canceling the reservation on my 30th birthday? Part 1. I am a 30-year-old male, and for as long as I can remember, I have been treated as the unofficial bank for my family. I work as a senior back-end engineer. I have been lucky with my career, and I have been smart with my investments. I live a comfortable life in a major city about 3 hours away from where I grew up. My family, on the other hand, stayed in our small hometown, and they have a very different view on money and boundaries. Specifically, they believe my money is their money. To understand why I did what I did, you need to know the cast of characters. First, there is my older brother. Let's call him Derek. He is 35 years old and is the definition of the golden child. He has never held a job for longer than 6 months because he always thinks he knows better than his boss. He considers himself an entrepreneur, which is really just code for falling for pyramid schemes and getting in a massive credit card debt. He is married to Stacy, a 33-year-old woman who fits every description of an entitled Karen you can imagine. She does not work because she claims being a mother is the hardest job in the world, yet my parents somehow pay for a part-time nanny to help her. They have 3 kids, aged 8, 6, and 4, who are absolutely feral because they have never heard the word no in their entire lives. And finally, there is my mom. She is the conductor of this toxic orchestra. Her favorite phrase is, "But he is your brother. You have so much. Why can't you share?" For my 30th birthday, I wanted to do something special for myself. I have not taken a real vacation in 4 years. I love hiking in nature, so 6 months ago, I booked this incredible, massive luxury cabin near Lake Tahoe. I am talking floor-to-ceiling windows with a mountain view, a massive wraparound deck, a high-end hot tub, a game room with a pool table, and a professional chef's kitchen. It cost a small fortune, but I paid for it in full because I wanted to treat myself. The original plan was simple. Me, 3 of my best friends from college, a lot of expensive scotch, good steaks, and silence. However, 2 weeks before the trip, my friends had to drop out one by one due to a mix of bad luck. One got COVID, and another had a death in the family. I was disappointed, but I decided to go solo. I thought a week of solitude in the mountains would actually be the perfect way to recharge. I made the fatal mistake of mentioning this to my mom during our weekly obligatory phone call. When I told her, she asked, "You are going to that giant mansion all alone?" Her voice dropped into that specific tone she uses when she is calculating how much money I have wasted. I told her it was a cabin, not a mansion. And yes, I needed the peace and quiet. She sighed loudly and said, "Well, it is just funny timing. Derek and Stacy have been having such a hard time lately. Derek's investment in those crypto atoms did not work out, and Stacy is so stressed with the kids. They were actually talking about how they needed a getaway to save their marriage." I knew immediately where this was going, so I told her no. I told her firmly that this was my birthday trip. But my mom is a master manipulator. She said, "Please, it is your 30th birthday. Do you really want to be alone? Imagine how happy your nieces and nephews would be to see their favorite uncle. You have all that space. It is wasted on one person." I told her I was not going there to babysit. She promised me that they would watch the kids, that I would not even know they were there, and that they just needed a change of scenery. She even said she wanted to come along to cook for me on my birthday, just like old times. She wore me down over the course of 3 days. Guilt is a powerful weapon, and I eventually broke. She promised that Derek and Stacy would pay for their own food and gas. She promised I would get the master suite, obviously, since I paid for the house. She promised the kids would be on their best behavior. Like an idiot, I agreed. I told myself it might be nice to have family around for the milestone. The nightmare started the morning we were supposed to leave. The drive to the cabin is about 6 hours. I pulled up to my parents' house in my SUV, which I keep spotless because I am a bit of a car enthusiast. Derek's car was apparently in the shop, though I found out later it had been repossessed, so they needed a ride. Stacy came out of the house, dragging 5 massive suitcases. 5 suitcases for a 5-day trip. I looked at the trunk space and told her there was no way all that would fit. She snapped at me, saying, "Well, maybe if you did not have your golf clubs and that stupid telescope taking up all the room, it would fit. The kids need their toys." My mom immediately chimed in before I could argue, saying, "Just make it work, please. Do not start drama before we even leave." So, to keep the peace, I had to take my golf clubs and my telescope out of my own car. I had to leave my hobbies behind on my own birthday trip to make room for Stacy's 5 suitcases. We squeezed into the car. Stacy demanded the front passenger seat because she claimed she gets carsick in the back, although she spent the entire ride texting and scrolling on Instagram. Mom was squeezed in the middle back seat between 2 massive car seats. Derek was in the back, man-spreading and complaining about legroom. 10 minutes into the ride, the 6-year-old opened a family-sized bag of Cheetos. I looked in the rearview mirror and politely asked him not to eat in the car because I had just got it detailed. Stacy did not even look up from her phone. She just said, "He is hungry. Do not be a child hater. It is just crumbs." By hour 2, my black leather seats were covered in orange dust and empty juice boxes were thrown on the floor mats. Every time I tried to put on a podcast or my own music, Derek complained from the back seat. He kept saying, "Change this, it is boring. Put on the top 40 station." When I told him the driver picks the music, he told me not to be a jerk and that it was a family trip. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. I kept telling myself to just get to the cabin. I thought that once we were there, I could retreat to the master suite, lock the door, get in the jacuzzi, and ignore them. I was so incredibly wrong. We stopped for gas halfway through the 6-hour drive. I filled up the tank, which cost about $80 because gas prices are high, and it is a large vehicle. When I got back in the car, I asked Derek if he could Venmo me his share of the gas money, since that was the agreement. He laughed and said, "Bro, I forgot to transfer money to my checking account. I will get you when we get there. Don't be so stingy, you make 6 figures." I let it slide because I didn't want to cause a scene in front of the kids, but I felt a knot forming in my stomach. This was going to be a long week. When we finally arrived at the cabin, it was late afternoon. The place was breathtaking. It was perched on a hill, surrounded by pine trees, looking exactly like the photos. I felt a moment of relief. I parked the car, unlocked the front door with the digital code, and we all walked in. The living room was massive with a stone fireplace. I walked in with my single duffel bag, ready to head upstairs to the master bedroom, to unpack and decompress. I started walking toward the main staircase when Stacy stopped me. She was standing in the middle of the living room, hands on her hips, looking around critically. Then she looked at me and said, "So, obviously Derek and I will take the big room upstairs with the balcony. The kids can sleep on air mattresses on the floor in there with us, and Mom can take the guest room. You can sleep on the pull-out couch in the den since you are alone." I stopped dead in my tracks on the stairs. I turned around and looked at her, thinking she was joking. "Stacy," I said, "I booked this house. I paid for this house. The master suite is mine. That was the deal." She rolled her eyes and let out a dramatic sigh. "Oh my God, are you seriously going to make a scene right now? We are a family of 5. We need the space. You are one single man. Why do you need a king-sized bed and a private jacuzzi? That is just selfish." I looked at my mom, expecting her to defend me, to remind Stacy of the agreement we made over the phone. But my mom just looked at the floor and then gave me a pleading look. "Honey," Mom said softly, "it would be easier. They have the kids. It is just for a few nights. Be the bigger person." That was the moment the first crack appeared. But I was tired, I was outnumbered, and I just wanted to open a bottle of wine. So I grit my teeth, threw my bag on the couch in the open concept den, and watched as my brother and his wife carried their 5 suitcases into my bedroom and slammed the door. I ended up sleeping on a lumpy sofa bed, while I could hear them laughing and watching TV in the room I paid $3,000 to sleep in. And that was only night one. I woke up the next morning with a stiff neck and a throbbing headache. The sun was streaming directly into the den because there were no curtains on the sliding glass doors, and the kids were already up and screaming. I looked at my watch. It was only 6:30 in the morning. I tried to roll over and go back to sleep, but then I heard a loud crash from the kitchen, followed by Stacy yelling, "It is fine. Uncle Op will clean it up." I dragged myself off the sofa bed and walked into the kitchen. It looked like a bomb had gone off. There was milk dripping from the counter onto the hardwood floor. An entire box of sugary cereal had been dumped onto the expensive rug, and every single cabinet door was wide open. My mom was sitting at the island, drinking coffee and scrolling on her iPad. She did not even look up. "Good morning, birthday boy," she said. "The kids had a little accident. There's a mop in the pantry." I stared at her. "Mom, I am not cleaning this up. Stacy's kids made the mess." Stacy walked in from the deck holding a cigarette. "Relax, Ope. I'm on vacation mode. I'm not dealing with chores. Besides, you do not have kids, so you do not understand how hard it is. Just help out a little." Before I could argue, she walked past me and grabbed a juice box from the fridge, one of the specific organic ones I had bought for myself for mixers. I spent the first 2 hours of my vacation mopping the floor and vacuuming cereal while my brother and his wife slept in my master suite until 10 o'clock. When Derek finally came downstairs, he looked hungover. He walked straight to the counter where I had set up a small bar area the night before. I had brought a very expensive bottle of 25-year-old single malt scotch. It was a $300 bottle I had been saving for my actual birthday night. I watched in horror as Derek grabbed the bottle, poured a generous amount into a red plastic solo cup, and then topped it off with generic root beer. My jaw literally dropped. "Derek," I stammered, "that is a $300 bottle of scotch. You just mixed it with root beer." He took a sip and shrugged. "It is a little strong for me, honestly. Tastes like wood. Do we have any vodka?" He didn't even apologize. He just walked out to the deck with my $300 scotch mixed with soda. I felt a vein in my forehead start to throb. Around noon, my mom suggested we go out for lunch. "There is a beautiful seafood restaurant down by the marina," she said. "It has 5 stars. We should go celebrate." I told them I wanted to stay in and just make sandwiches because I had already spent a lot on groceries, but Stacy started whining. "Come on, Opape. Do not be cheap. We are all dressed and ready. The kids want to see the boats." Against my better judgment, I agreed to drive. We took my car again because obviously we had no other option. At the restaurant, the waiter seated us at a nice table overlooking the water. As soon as we sat down, Derek ordered the surf and turf, the most expensive thing on the menu. Stacy ordered a lobster tail and 3 appetizers for the table, which she proceeded to eat mostly herself. The kids ordered adult-sized portions of fried shrimp and barely touched them. When the check came, it was nearly $400. The waiter placed the black folder in the middle of the table. Everyone suddenly became very interested in the view. My mom started pointing at a duck in the water. Derek patted his pockets theatrically. "Oh, shoot," Derek said, snapping his fingers. "I left my wallet in the cargo shorts I wore yesterday. Babe, do you have your card?" Stacy laughed nervously. "No, I didn't bring a purse. I thought you had it." They all turned to look at me. The silence stretched out for 10 painful seconds. "You guys are joking, right?" I asked. "You ordered lobster and steak, and nobody brought money?" "Just put it on your card, Op," my mom said, waving her hand dismissively. "You get those travel points or whatever. We can settle up later." Settle up later is family code for never. I knew I was never seeing that money again. But the waiter was standing right there, and I was too embarrassed to make a scene in a crowded restaurant. I paid the bill. I didn't say a word on the ride back to the cabin. I just turned up the music to drown out the sound of the kids fighting in the back seat. When we got back to the cabin, I decided I needed to get away from them. I grabbed my book and headed toward the hot tub on the lower deck. I had been dreaming about this hot tub for months. It was a high-end infinity model with massage jets. But when I got there, my heart sank. The water, which was crystal clear yesterday, was now a cloudy, murky soup. There were cheese puffs floating in the filter. Foam was spilling over the edges because someone had dumped bubble bath into it, which ruins the pumps. And sitting right in the middle of it were my two nephews, splashing violently. "Hey!" I yelled. "No food in the hot tub, and no bubble bath. The owner is going to charge me a cleaning fee for this." Stacy leaned over the balcony railing from the floor above. "Stop yelling at them!" she shrieked. "They're just having fun. You can skim the cheese out later. God, you are such a control freak. No wonder you are single." That comment stung. I retreated to the game room inside, thinking I would just play a round of pool by myself. But as I walked in, I saw my 4-year-old niece standing on top of the pool table. She was wearing her shoes. She was jumping up and down on the felt. I ran over and scooped her off. "No, no, no. Shoes off the table." I looked down and saw deep scuff marks and a small tear in the green felt where her heel had dug in. That was going to cost me at least $500 in damages. I sat down on a stool, head in my hands. It was only 2 in the afternoon on day 2. My expensive scotch was gone, my car was trashed, the hot tub was ruined, the pool table was damaged, and I was out $400 for a lunch I didn't enjoy. And then, things got worse. My mom walked into the game room with a great idea. "Up," she said, sitting down next to me. "I was talking to Derek and Stacy. They love it here so much. The kids are so happy. We were thinking, since you have this place booked until Friday, maybe you could extend it through the weekend. Derek checked the calendar and the house is free for Saturday and Sunday." "No," I said instantly. "Absolutely not." "Listen," she said, putting a hand on my shoulder. "Derek found out the owner gave you a discount for the weekly rate. If you extend, it wouldn't cost that much. And since you are already paying for the week, it would be a nice gift to your brother to let them stay the extra 2 days. You can go home on Friday if you have to work, but leave the keys for them." I stared at her. "You want me to pay for 2 extra days, leave early, and let them stay here alone?" "Mom, they already wrecked the hot tub and the pool table. I am the one liable for damages." She frowned. "You care more about your money than your family's happiness. That is your problem, Ope. You have become so cold." She walked away, leaving me fuming. I realized then that they didn't see me as a person. They saw me as a resource, a wallet with legs. I went to the fridge to get a beer and found that Derek had drunk the last of my craft IPAs. I went to sleep on the lumpy couch again that night, listening to them watch a movie on the surround sound system I hadn't even had a chance to use yet. I checked my phone. Tomorrow was my actual birthday. I told myself that if they ruined tomorrow, I was done. I just didn't know how done I would be. Day 3 was my actual 30th birthday. I woke up on the pull-out couch expecting, well, something. Maybe a pancake breakfast? Maybe a balloon? But the house was silent. I walked into the kitchen and found a sticky note on the counter from my mom. It read, "Took the kids to the lake. Derek and Stacy are sleeping in. Please don't wake them, they had a rough night. Coffee is out." There was no coffee left. The canister was empty. I decided to salvage the day. I had brought 3 incredibly expensive A5 Wagyu ribeye steaks for my birthday dinner. I had hidden them in the back of the fridge, buried it under bags of frozen vegetables, so nobody would find them. My plan was to marinate them, go for a long solo hike, come back, and grill them for everyone as a peace offering. I went for my hike. For 4 hours, I was actually happy. I turned off my phone. I sat on a rock overlooking the mountains and breathed fresh air. For a moment, I forgot that my family was currently infesting the luxury cabin I was paying for. But when I hiked back down around 4 in the afternoon, I saw 2 strange cars parked in the driveway next to my SUV. My stomach dropped. I walked into the house, and it was full of people. There was music blasting, terrible, bass-heavy club music. The air smelled like stale beer and weed. In the living room, I saw Derek and Stacy sitting on the couches with a couple I had never met before. There were 3 other random guys playing pool on the damaged table, slamming beer bottles down on the felt. "Yo, the birthday boy is back," Derek yelled, raising a red cup. He was clearly drunk. "Oh, come meet my buddies from college. They saw on Facebook that we were in Tahoe and drove up. I told them you wouldn't mind." I stood there, sweaty and covered in dust from my hike, looking at these strangers in my rental. "Derek," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Who are these people, and why are they smoking inside? We are going to lose the security deposit." "Relax, bro," one of the strangers said. We opened a window. I walked into the kitchen to get a glass of water, and that is when my heart stopped. On the kitchen island there were 3 empty styrofoam trays. The labels read, "Premium Wagyu ribeye." They were empty. I looked out onto the deck. The grill was smoking. On plates scattered around the patio table were the half-eaten remains of my $300 worth of steak. They had cooked them well done. They had covered them in ketchup. I felt a coldness wash over me that I had never felt before. It wasn't just anger. It was clarity. My mom walked in from the deck, holding a glass of wine. "Oh, you're back," she said cheerfully. "We decided to start the barbecue early because the guests were hungry. The meat was a little fatty, honestly. I think you got ripped off." I looked at her. "That was my birthday dinner, Mom. Those were for me." She rolled her eyes. "Oh, stop it. There are hot dogs in the fridge. Don't be such a hostzilla. We are celebrating. Derek is having such a good time. Look at him." I didn't say a word. I didn't scream. I didn't flip the table. I just nodded. "Okay," I said. "I am going to go take a shower." "Good idea," she said. "You smell like sweat. Oh, and can you run to the store after? We are out of beer." I went downstairs to the shared bathroom, turned on the shower to create white noise, and sat on the closed toilet lid. I took out my phone and opened my banking app. There were 7 pending charges from today. Liquor store, $200. Grocery store, $300. Gas station, $80. They had gone into my wallet while I was hiking, taken my backup credit card, and went shopping for their party. I sat there for a long time, listening to the bass thumping upstairs. I heard Derek's voice booming through the thin floorboard. I turned off the water and pressed my ear against the door to listen. "Yeah, my little brother is loaded," Derek was bragging to his friends. "He's a total pushover, though. I told him we are staying until Sunday. He's gonna pay for the extension. Watch. Mom is working on him. He is desperate for approval." "That is sweet," Stacy's voice chimed in. "We were thinking of asking him to co-sign on a new car for us next month. He won't say no if Mom asks him." That was it. That was the moment the bridge burned down. I unlocked the door and walked out. I put on a fake smile. I went upstairs, grabbed a beer, and toasted with them. I played the role of the good, submissive brother. "You guys are right," I told Derek. I was being uptight. "Let's party." They ate it up. They thought they had won. By 2 in the morning, the strangers had left. Some of them crashed on the floor, and my family had stumbled off to bed. Derek and Stacy passed out in the master suite. Mom passed out in the guest room. The house was finally quiet. I did not sleep. At 3:30 in the morning, I got up. I moved silently. I packed my duffel bag. I packed my telescope. I packed my golf clubs. I carried everything out to my car, tiptoeing past the sleeping drunks. Then, I did the 3 things that would nuke their world. First, I opened the Airbnb app on my phone. I went to change reservation. I shortened the trip. Instead of checking out on Friday, I changed the checkout date to yesterday. I ended the reservation effective immediately. I sent a message to the host. "Emergency came up. I have vacated the property. However, my family refused to leave and are currently trespassing. They have damaged your property and are unauthorized guests. Please handle accordingly. Second, I logged into my bank app and marked my credit card as stolen, which immediately declined any future charges, including the pending authorization for the cabin's security deposit, which would now bounce to the card on file, which I had swapped to Derek's debit card info that he had foolishly left on the counter earlier. Third, I went to the kitchen. I took every single scrap of food I had bought, the eggs, the milk, the bread, the coffee, and I put it in the trunk of my car. I left them with nothing but the empty bottles of alcohol and their hangover. I got in my car. The engine started with a soft purr. It was 4:15 in the morning. It was pitch black outside. I backed out of the driveway, took one last look at the beautiful cabin I had paid for, and drove away. I was 3 hours away when the sun came up, and that is when my phone started to ring. I was sitting in a diner about 4 hours away, enjoying a quiet plate of eggs and bacon, when my phone screen lit up. It was my mom. Then Derek. Then Stacy. Then Mom again. I let it go to voicemail for 45 minutes. Finally, when I saw a text from Derek that said, "Dude, where is the car? We need to go to the store," I decided to answer. I picked up the phone and put it on speaker so I could enjoy the show while I drank my coffee. "Hello?" "Up!" My mom screamed. She didn't even say hello. "Where the hell are you?" Derek went outside to get the groceries from the car, and it is gone. And the fridge is empty. Did you go for a drive? "No, Mom," I said calmly. I went home. There was a silence on the line so profound I could hear the static. "What?" she whispered. "What do you mean you went home? We're still here. How are we supposed to get back? We don't have a car." "I know," I said. "That sounds like a problem. But since Derek is such a successful entrepreneur, I am sure he can charter a helicopter." "This isn't funny," Stacy yelled from the background. "My kids are hungry. There's no food in this house. You took everything. You are a monster." "I took the food I paid for," I corrected her. "And by the way, you guys should probably start packing. I canceled the reservation. Checkout was technically yesterday, so right now you are trespassing." "You did what?" Derek's voice roared. "You can't do that. We are settled in. You paid for the week." "I got a refund for the remaining days," I lied. I didn't actually get a refund, but I knew it would hurt them more to hear that. Also, I marked my credit card as stolen. So if you guys try to order pizza or extend the stay, it's going to decline. And speaking of declined, Derek, I hope you have money for the damages. I told the host about the pool table and the hot tub. "Oh, please," my mom's voice cracked. She switched from anger to begging instantly. "Please turn around. Come back. We can talk about this. We are family. You can't leave your mother and your nieces and nephews stranded in the mountains. It's a 6-hour drive. An Uber will cost hundreds of dollars." "I know," I said. "It's actually about $600 for an Uber XL. I checked. But hey, remember last night? I was sitting on the toilet in the bathroom downstairs. I heard everything." The line went dead silent. "I heard you and Stacy laughing about how you were going to make me co-sign for a car," I continued. "I heard you call me a pushover. I heard you bragging about how you were going to milk me for money. Well, the cow has left the barn. I am done being your ATM. I am done being the doormat. Figure it out." I hung up. 10 minutes later, I got a notification from the Airbnb app. The host had messaged me. "I see on the outdoor cameras there are still people in the house. I am heading over now with the local sheriff to escort them off the property if they are not gone in 20 minutes. I didn't reply to the host. I just blocked my family's numbers. All of them. I found out later from a cousin what happened next. The host arrived and kicked them out. They were forced to stand on the side of the road with their 5 massive suitcases and 3 crying children. Derek tried to use his credit card to call an Uber, but it was maxed out. Stacy tried hers, but it was declined. They had to call our dad, my mom's ex-husband, who lives 3 states away. He obviously couldn't help. Eventually, they had to call a local taxi service and negotiate a flat rate to drive them to the nearest Greyhound bus station, which was 40 miles away. They had to take a crowded, smelly bus for 9 hours to get back to our hometown. It cost them the last of their cash. When I finally got back to my apartment, I walked in, poured myself a glass of cheap whiskey, and sat in my quiet, clean living room. I was down about $3,000 for the trip, and the bridge with my family was new. But as I sat there, I realized something. I didn't feel sad. I felt free. I spent the rest of my birthday weekend ordering takeout, playing video games, and sleeping in. It was the best birthday I have ever had. It has been 6 months since then. I haven't spoken to them. I hear through the grapevine that Derek is threatening to sue me for emotional distress, which is hilarious. My mom sends me emails sometimes. Some are angry, some are begging for money, some are just photos of the kids. I delete them all without reading. I use the money I saved from not supporting them to book a trip to Japan for next year. Just me, myself, and I. Am I the jerk? I don't think so.